How have Meghan Markle's past words come back to haunt her? Has she told Prince Harry he has to step up financially? Did the palace ignore key information on Andrew? What was Catherine's love declaration for William this week? And why the Prince of Wales is determined to make it to Peter Phillips' wedding this time around. All this and more on another extraordinary episode of Palace Confidential. Hello and welcome to Palace Confidential. I'm Luke Blackwell and today I'm joined by the Dream Team, Rebecca English, the Daily Mail's Royal Editor, and Richard Eden, the newspaper's Diary Editor. Welcome to you both. Before we hear from them though, I have some exciting news for you. We have released some more tickets for our Palace Confidential live event happening in London on Tuesday the 9th of June 2026. They're available to purchase to our audience. It takes place at a very smart venue in central London. Tickets are £57.50 each. Richard Eden and Rebecca English will both be there, along with our other favourite Richard Kay, as well as royal biographer and Daily Mail columnist Robert Hardman. It really should be a fantastic afternoon. For more information about the event or to buy tickets, you just need to scan the QR code that is on screen now by taking your phone out, going to the phone, the camera setting there, hovering it over the QR code, and a link should pop up. Click that link and it'll take you to the page. Alternatively, we will put a link in the description below and one in the comments too, so can take you straight through there. It really is very straightforward. We're going for a classic English afternoon tea feel for the whole thing as well, with a glass of fizz being served as well. You really won't want to miss it, and we'd love to meet you and see you there as well. Hear all your questions and thoughts too. Click that link. Come and see us Tuesday, the 9th of June, 2026.
I can't wait.
There you go, Carl. Yeah, exactly. It'll be a great fun afternoon. Do come and join us. Come and say hello and ask questions of the panel too. But let's get into it because we might hear a bit more about that event a bit later on the programme. But we have lots to talk about today, starting with what the royal family have been up to this week. Catherine is first up on the bill. She was visiting a hospital in Manchester today. A very wholesome engagement, Rebecca, there, and one you're probably sad to be missing.
Yeah, well, I can't be in two places at once. It was either do this or go to Manchester.
We need you here.
So yeah, exactly. So I've come to do this today. But it is a really meaningful engagement for her. She's at the Christie NHS Foundation Trust to highlight the work they do with people who are experiencing cancer and beyond in a holistic way. So she's very keen on promoting, alongside traditional help, more, alternative therapies that will help you get through the experience of cancer. It's something she herself adopted, and she's very keen to highlight the benefits to other people too. So I think it'd be a really meaningful and very deeply personal engagement for her.
I'm sure. Now, Richard, on Wednesday, Prince William visited the Diana Award in East London. That's, of course, a very meaningful and important award to him. In times gone by, this would have been an engagement that he and Harry would have been doing together. It would have been a big photo opportunity. Yes,
the Diana Award, it's the only charity in their mother's name, and both William and Harry support it. But because of their estrangement, they support it separately. For example, when Harry was here last September, when that time he met the King for a cup of tea, he carried out an engagement for the Diana Award then. And this week it was William on his own. In fact, you've got to go back to 2017 when they were at a Diana Award event together. But it is a great charity. Basically, it wants to reward and encourage young people who are doing positive things. And I think both of them see it as a really a great positive way to celebrate their mother's legacy. So, yeah, both want to support it, but it is a bit sad to see them having to carry out these things separately. But frankly, William is used to that now. So I think the people involved in the charity are as well.
Now, so also very busy this week was Queen Camilla. She hosted a tea party for sick children, and at a separate event, she marked the National Year of Reading with none other than Paddington Bear. Rebecca, given her friendship with Paddington, the late Queen will be proud, surely.
Yeah, I tell you, it's been a really busy week for all the royals. I mean, there's some days, even just the senior royals, I'm doing between them, 8, 9 engagements. And I'm just classing kind of William, Catherine, the Queen and the King in that, let alone Princess Anne and the Edinburghs. It's been a phenomenally busy week. So there were a particular number, I think, of very meaningful engagements the Queen's done this week. Obviously, she was with Paddington, which is huge fun, to highlight reading and community initiatives like the Big Lunch. But also, there was a really lovely event where she invited a group of 6 very seriously ill children into Clarence House for a tea party and a treasure hunt. Now, the weather gods in the UK this week have not been with us for outdoor events. It's been unseasonably cold, windy and wet. But the children still had a carriage drive in one of the carriages from the Royal Mews to Clarence House, and they just brought everything inside, and Camilla was brilliant, serving them up biscuits and treats and saying, look, help yourself, forget about, you know, watching what you need to eat today, let's just have it all. And then she was holding the children's hands and helping them find the clues to, and the treasure they found was a big golden coin from the Royal Collection Trust. And there was one little boy, very, very sweet. He brought along with him a medal he'd been given by the Scouts for basically being such a terrific scout despite all the medical conditions he has. And he wanted her to pin it on him, but he was actually too embarrassed to ask. And she was like, oh, what's that? And his mother told him. She said, well, I think we should do it. And she pinned it on him, and he was so proud he then gave a toast to her. So it was a really lovely event. And there was another one she did earlier on this week, and as you know, without going into detail, I was spending a lot of time in hospitals this year, and she went to a hospital that's been caring for one of my family members, St George's Hospital in Tooting, and I spent many hours looking at them in the patient's room, looking at them building a garden out there, and I remember wondering what it was for. And this week she went and opened this open-air garden that patients who are suffering from brain tumours or strokes or brain injury can go and help their recuperation in. So I felt quite moved by that, because I think for once I wasn't just seeing it as a journalist, but I was seeing it as a punter, really, and what it means to patients and staff to have a member of the royal family come in and acknowledge something like that.
No, it was a really, really nice occasion. And another very nice occasion was getting a number of the royals together, because on Tuesday evening, royal fans were delighted to see Catherine join the King and Queen at the last minute for a cancer research reception at St James's Palace. Richard, it must have been a marked difference for guests to meet both royals who have first-hand experience with cancer.
Oh, very much so. I mean, this event was a really important one because it was marking 125 years of Cancer Research UK, so leading the battle, and it was a chance for Catherine and the King to thank those who are trying to battle this disease and try and look for cures for the future. So there's lots of different people there, and I think having the King and Catherine there would have meant a lot to them, given what they've been through. I mean, like Rebecca was saying, I mean, what's astonished me this week is when you look at the engagements that the King's been carrying out. I mean, my goodness, the court circular was as long as your arm. But there was one occasion he was doing an investiture. It's about 60 people, I think. It went on for hours. But this is a man who is still receiving treatment for cancer. So it is like genuinely remarkable, I think.
And he seemed on really good form recently. Every job I've done with him, he's really energised. So, you know, whatever he's doing still is clearly working for him.
Now, we also noticed that Catherine, and I know some of you in the comments noticed as well, made a very rare and very sweet declaration of love for Prince William at the event, but we'll return to that a bit later on. I'm really teasing them there, aren't I? Talking of getting the royals together, though, love is certainly in the air this week, because the royal household is preparing for Peter Phillips and Harriet Spurling's wedding. Rebecca, this will be a private ceremony and rather intimate as far as royal weddings go, but will we see pictures of them outside? Will we get a bit of a flavour of this being an exciting occasion?
Panic you not. Of course you will. And you're right, it is intimate by royal standards. It's happening in a little church in Kemble, which is the nearest church to Princess Anne's Gatcombe Park estate, with the reception there afterwards. But they have been busy, and obviously it'll be private inside, it's not going to be publicly broadcast, but they are setting up a big media position to capture all the arrivals outside, including the bride and all her attendants. And I've been speaking to her people this week, and they've reassured me that after the event they're going to be putting out full press release of the details of the dress, and hopefully one or two beautifully professionally taken portraits from the event themselves. Those will come out on either Saturday or maybe even Sunday. So there'll be plenty of royal fans to get their teeth into.
Do you think we can see a white dress?
My guess is because it's in church it will be. Obviously it's a second wedding for both of them, and in the UK under the Church of England you can get married again in a church, but it's up to the individual vicar there whether he's happy to carry out the service. In this case he is, And so
he wants the royals in his church.
Absolutely, yeah. But I think people are much more relaxed about this kind of thing nowadays. And obviously, you know, Peter Phillips is quite low down the pecking order in the order of succession. And I think if you're going to get married in church, then yeah, people will see you in white, I suspect.
Well, remember that Queen Elizabeth was surprised that Meghan chose to get married in a white dress, apparently. That was according to her cousin, Lady Elizabeth Anson.
Yeah, she was.
So it will be interesting to see, what Harriet
wears. It was a shade of white, wasn't it, as well?
Yes, it was a very pure white, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Richard, I think you have a sense of which royals might be there. What can you tell us?
Well, I'm told we're expected to see the King and Queen, Prince William and Catherine, Princess Anne, obviously, as the groom's mother, and her husband, Tim Lawrence. Prince Edward and Sophie are expected to be there, and there'll also be others, I think, Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, perhaps.
It's a full turnout.
You know, so it's all the senior royals. And then there'll be some people who will be conspicuous by their absence. There will be no Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Peter's uncle. And it will be very interesting to see if Andrew's daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, Peter Phillips's cousins, are there. Personally, I don't think they will be, but it will be very interesting to see. I think they have been invited, but whether they choose to attend or not will be a really interesting question for Saturday.
And do we think that Prince Harry has received an invitation? Because it's still family, and we talked before about attending family events.
Again, that's really interesting. I've been trying to get to the bottom of that. Even last night I was asking people. Pretty sure that Harry and Meghan won't be there, but whether they were invited or not is interesting. I mean, you know, remember that Peter Phillips did play a key role in the lives of both William and Harry, that after their mother's death, I think he was asked by Queen Elizabeth to sort of look after them. You know, he was the Queen's eldest grandchild, and he was, a bit of a mentor to William and Harry. So, he was a key figure, but imagine if Harry did turn up, because we've seen Harry, for example, he attended the funeral of his uncle. No one expected to see him there. He was there, he didn't talk to William at the time. That was Lord Fellows, wasn't it? Robert Fellows' funeral. So it's sort of family event, he could be, but it would be awkward. And again, Peter might be thinking that he wouldn't want to overshadow his wedding by having all the drama of whether Harry and Meghan will be there. So it just shows you what a difficult subject that is for the family.
I think that's a good point, Richard, as well, because obviously Lord Fellows' funeral was private, and it only kind of emerged later that Harry had been there, where some of the guests started talking. But obviously he would have to walk in front of a huge media pack if he was going to go to Peter Phillips's wedding. There wouldn't be any way really of slipping around the back. So I think that's something they would want to avoid, I suspect.
Yes, and not making a big circus of it, more than it already perhaps could be. Rebecca, do you have any insight into whether Harriet will take Peter's last name?
My guess is that she will be, because I think she's quite a traditional lady, but obviously she does have a 13-year-old daughter by a previous marriage, Georgina, who really surprised, actually delighted us when I was standing there outside church at Easter at Windsor, and she suddenly joined the family gathering, which I thought was a really lovely touch, and she seems to have a really close bond already with Peter's daughters, who are set to be her stepsisters. So I suspect she will, but I think that will all be confirmed on Saturday.
But we'll let you know, of course, viewers, when we find out. We don't always like to think about previous marriages when it's divorced couples. But Richard, Alison Boshoff revealed intriguing detail about the events company who'd been hired to oversee the wedding, didn't she?
Well, Alison discovered that the company that's organising the wedding reception is Bentley's Entertainment, which is the same firm that organised his first wedding. But, you can't blame them for the demise of his first marriage. I think that wedding ceremony went very well. It's a company, I've been writing about it for years, actually, because it was founded by half-brother of the first Earl of Snowdon, Princess Margaret's ex-husband. It's his half-brother, Peregrine Armstrong-Jones, founded this company. They've done all sorts of weddings. They did the very memorable wedding of David and Victoria Beckham. You remember, with the thrones, and all sorts. And they've done other royal wedding receptions as well. Like, I think was it Beatrice or was it Eugenie? One of those that they did. So
I'm just smiling to myself.
Eugenie's wedding.
I bet you won't have thrones at this one. I mean, you do have thrones at the Beckhams, but actually one where the royals are. I could bet that's the last thing you'll have there.
But yeah, they are known for their lavish parties. So they've done Elton John's, pretty flamboyant stuff.
Peter's not superstitious. He doesn't think lightning strike twice because of a...
No, annoyingly, we won't see the pictures though. Because it's all behind closed doors at the Gatcombe Park estate.
Well, you raised an important point, because Rebecca, for Peter's first wedding, we did see a whole lot of pictures. It was a bit of a surprise. He sold the rights to the wedding, the picture rights, for £500,000. We saw... I was going to say Catherine, she was Kate back then, Kate Middleton dancing with Chelsea Davy. It was it was eye-opening, wasn't it? There's no sense that that's happening again here, is there?
In fact, they've made a point of saying there is definitely not a wedding deal. Although they did announce their engagement exclusively to Hello magazine, who they also did the deal with the first wedding. So I suspect they wanted to, but I think, with so many senior royals there, and the last deal caused a bit of a ruckus, to say the least. I might write more about that in the Mail this weekend. I think they decided that discretion is the better part of valour in this case.
It's a shame though, because it was great to see the pictures. I mean, those, like you say, there was Catherine, there was Chelsea Davy, all having fun. I remember it was across 57 pages of Hello magazine, so they certainly got their money's worth.
Yes, and some people were a little bit surprised that the pictures appeared there, weren't some of the guests weren't necessarily expecting to find themselves in Hello a few days later. I think there's also a different air within the family now about commercial deals, aren't there? Given what we've seen over in California and with Andrew lately, the idea once, whereas that might have been sort of waved through discreetly 20 years ago, nowadays it's a different atmosphere. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think they're a bit more sniffy about it, and you're right that something as personal as what is being stressed to us is a private wedding probably shouldn't be splashed about in that way. And I think it's really nice that all the media are going to be there to be able to cover the arrivals, because let's face it, it's been a pretty ropey few years for the royal family personally, and it will just be nice to have them all out smiling and celebrating some really good news.
And I just want to return to that first wedding for a moment, Richard, because you've written about it in your Mail Plus column this week, and there's the fascinating thing, which I had completely forgotten, was that we're expecting Prince William to be there, but he wasn't at Peter's last wedding, was he? Tell us about that.
No, so I've written my column for Mail Plus about this, and this is why William's particularly keen to attend this wedding on Saturday, as he wasn't there for his first one, so it's quite nice he had a second chance. The reason was that he went to Africa for another wedding. So it was an old friend of his from that he made during his gap year before university, Batty and Craig. It was a Maasai wedding with all very colourful, quite exciting time I think he had there. And it was for Batty, who's the brother of his old friend Jekka Craig, who allegedly he had a sort of pretend engagement with during his gap year, although that was denied at the time, so who knows. But yeah, he chose to go to that. Then interestingly, so he sent Catherine, and it was her first meeting with Queen Elizabeth. It was quite daunting, so she went to sort of like represent William, even though she'd never met the Queen before. And there she was, sort of expected to appear in Hello magazine and everything. So it's a bit of a sort of baptism of fire, but she obviously passed it with flying colours, as you can imagine.
Evidently, and William obviously felt that as he'd said yes to that previous wedding, he had to honour that.
Well, it is a bit awkward, isn't it? Because imagine, I think, yeah, he'd said yes, because, particularly when it's a wedding abroad, people tend to give you notice a long way ahead, don't they? So he'd said yes, and then he probably felt, oh, it's a bit bad to sort of go back and say, actually, I've had a better offer, So he stuck with his original acceptance. So you could say that was sort of the honourable thing to do.
Absolutely. Now, conveniently, last week's Palace Confidential poll was inspired by the Phillips-Sperling wedding, which we will definitely discuss in greater detail in next week's programme. We asked you if Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie should stay away from the wedding. More than 14,500 of you voted, and it might be our closest poll yet. 34% of you said that the York sisters should be able to attend the wedding, as it is a private event, while 36% of you voted for them to stay well away. The remaining 30%, however, thought that Beatrice and Eugenie should stay away from both the wedding and Ascot too. Well, if you want to cast your vote in the next poll, all you have to do is sign up to the free Palace Confidential newsletter by opening your phone's camera, hovering it over the QR code that is on your screen now, and clicking the link that pops up. That should take you to a web page where we put in your email address, and voila! Royal news and views from our unrivaled experts will be sent directly to your inbox every week for free. And of course, if you're watching on a phone, you can go to the description below, click that link, and that will sign you up too. It really is that easy. Now, as we discussed, Catherine has been invited to Harriet's wedding, of course, prompting some to speculate that the Princess of Wales may have found a close friend in the NHS nurse. I think she'd have been invited anyway. Rebecca, you know, this has been sort of speculation, as there is always a lot of froth and excitement before any wedding, but the two do have lots in common, don't they?
Yeah, so I think, you know, the suggestion that they could, the best buddies, is a little bit overexcited, but they do have a lot in common. They are both, they're both mothers. Harriet's a paediatric nurse. Catherine is passionate about the early years and promoting everything to do with the betterment of children's health and education between the ages of birth to 5. So they've got a lot in common. And you know, from what I hear, they get on really well. They just don't see each other a lot because they have very, very separate lives. And, you know, Peter's is very much up in Gloucestershire and Catherine's is in Berkshire. But when they do see each other, they get on very, very well. And Catherine's very welcoming, and she'll understand, you know, for Harriet's daughter, Georgina, it must be quite a daunting experience coming into the royal family and starting to take part in photo calls and things. I can imagine she'd be a bit of a guiding hand for that as well.
Despite what you hear from some quarters in California, perhaps, everything I've heard is Catherine is a very easy person to
Yes.
get on with.
Yeah.
And very welcoming. And Richard, also, you know, we've sort of seen Beatrice and Eugenie taking a step back, almost not seeing so much of them. Like you mentioned, some members of the royal family moved to California. There is a slight lack of younger representatives. So the media are naturally interested in Harriet as a sort of new figure, aren't they?
Well, Harriet's beautiful for a start, which means papers and media would like to, you know, picture her. But she seems like a very interesting character, and the fact she's, you know, an NHS nurse as well. She's got the background. So I'm sure, you know, we'd like to hear more of her. But Peter is not a working member of the royal family. You know, we've written about his business ventures, and some of them pretty dubious over the years, such as, you know, what was it, Milk in China?
That was a brilliant story of yours, I remember
and
that.
all of that.
So the ice rink at Kensington got a few raised eyebrows as well.
Yeah, it's been quite checkered, should we say.
There's been all sorts. But so, you know, we've written about him quite a bit, but hopefully, you know, she'll be good for him too. And I would say he's quite a lucky man by all accounts.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there'll be many of your thoughts in the comments below. Let's turn to the comments now. Last week we heard how Prince William likes his scones with cream first, followed by jam. Yep, the Duke of Cornwall likes it the Devonian way. That will upset some people in the southwest, won't it? This prompted much discussion in the comments. We'll just have a couple of those now, though. Sister Goldenhair, could be my sister, what do you think? Firmly agreed with the Prince of Wales, saying, it's definitely cream first, then jam. Would you put butter on top of jam on toast? But Marita Morrison wasn't convinced and said, I am from Newcastle on Tyne originally. It is jam, then cream on top. So we've got the southwest and we've got the northeast, everything coming in. Richard, you're something of a food connoisseur after our recent videos, certainly the ones we shot in New York. What do you say on the Great Scone debate? How do you like to have?
Look, my first job in journalism was at the Western Morning News, and that's a newspaper that covers Devon and Cornwall. So I know how controversial this subject
Vicious
is.
it can get.
You know, personally, God, I'm even nervous about saying, I think I would put cream first, then jam on top, because like the the lady says. It feels more like the butter. It's more natural. You put the cream and then top it up with a bit of jam.
Yeah, but you wouldn't put that much butter on your toast and you put that much cream on your scone.
Some people do.
You're right.
I quite like a lot of butter on my toast. It's probably not very good for me.
That much, though? And that...
No, that's a coronary waiting to happen.
But that's what a cream tea's all about. But I don't get it, because I would always do jam and cream, because then you've got something for the cream to cling on to.
So can the cream not cling onto the scone?
No, but the jam helps kind of weld it there.
We should have some scones in next week. I'm getting hungry just talking about it. Anyway, look, we've got to move on because there are many other things we need to see. Do you know what we should see though? Is a video of you eating a scone, Richard. I think we're going to have to do that.
I'm always available for a nice cream tea. Yeah.
The next Richard video, we should get you eating a scone.
And anyone who works with Richard knows that food is something that Richard talks about quite a lot. Even when we're filming, he's like, how long have we got? Because I need my lunch.
Let's not talk about
little secret for the viewers. Richard does get a little hangry sometimes. We have to make sure he's well fed around all his filming commitments. Now, speaking of afternoon tea, if you like it, why not join us at our live event next week?
Will there be scones?
You asked for it, Richard. There is a scone selection, Devonshire clotted cream, raspberry preserve. And that's not all. There's also a dessert selection, chocolate brownie, almond and apricot macaron, spiced carrot cake, no less, plus a glass of fizz. It really is a fantastic selection there.
Well, I'm going to take some sandwiches just in case.
Like Paddington.
You're going to wear your hat and underneath there you've got your marmalade sandwiches.
There we go. Maybe you can use Rebecca's handbag for those. And it's not just the tea. You will, of course, hear the panel telling their royal stories, giving you a fascinating insight into what's going on with the royal family right now, to answering a few of your questions. We have that QR code on screen now for you to scan, and you can grab those tickets while they are available. Do come and join us. Like I say, we'd love to meet you. Not long to go though, so you'll have to be quick to snap those up. We have noticed, meanwhile, an increase in questions in our comments section, so we thought we'd answer a few of those for you now. This first one is from Annie Marr. She says, "Hi there." Hi, Annie. I wonder if you could settle an argument for me, please. I say yes, but others say no, in capitals.
What's the question?
Do the monarchs have their own private wills to leave personal items and money to who they wish? I ask this because I reckon that, God forbid, when the king passes, then Harry will get his very last royal family inheritance. And that is what I think Meghan is sticking around for, as Harry will have no more money coming his way. Thank you. Love the show. P.S. Please cover this. Well, Annie, we are covering this. Rebecca, what is the answer?
Yes, they do, but they are sealed by the High Court and are kept private documents. Now, in the UK, once a will has been passed by probate, it is a public document, so any of us could see anybody's will if we were so minded to do. And there have been some legal battles fought over this in the UK over the years to try and get that overturned, because of course, you know, people want to know whether priceless jewels are being handed down through the generations that maybe should be staying with the monarch, you know, but holding them in trust for the country. But none of those legal battles have been successful. So they do wills, but they're private, they're sealed, and we'll never know what's in them.
Well, that's something else I'm sure people will be campaigning for more now. Because one of the things that came up, of course, recently was the question of who was paying Andrew's bills, you know, how that all worked, and whether, you know, his mother or his father had left anything particularly for him. But we just never found out.
Well, I was told by some really good sources that the idea that he was living off some huge bequests, it was not true. There was no really massive inherited family wealth there at all, which is one of the worries for the king as to how Andrew manages his lifestyle. And it's
an on for another show, really. But there's often, you know, they're not short of money by anyone's standard. They get, very nice allowances from, among other sources, the Duchy of Lancaster, Duchy of Cornwall. But they are said to be not so cash rich. You know, they have these enormous assets. So I think it's people are wondering, you know, are assets being passed down and all those sort of things.
We could do a whole show on royal finances. I think it'd be quite interesting. There's a lot of there's a lot of secrecy about it, and there's a lot of smoke and mirror, but there's a lot of misunderstanding as well as to where the money comes from, how they get it, you know, who actually ultimately owns it. We should do it.
Well, it's commissioned.
Oh,
you're,
right.
you're signed up now, Rebecca.
Oh,
this is
no,
more
what have I
work
let
for you
myself
now.
into?
I know you've got lots to do today, but we'll get you in the studio very soon. We'll get you both and we can talk about it in more detail. Another question now, though, from Cheryl Hill, who asked, she's first, thank you for your wonderful programme. It's our pleasure, Cheryl. My question has to do with the Duchy of Cornwall, which of course I just mentioned there. She asked, if 20% of the land is being sold, what are the future plans for that land? Rebecca, do we know the answer to this?
Good question. So they are planning to sell off 20% of the land, which could raise about £500 million, and the intention is that that will be reinvested into community projects, environmental projects, more affordable housing. And I think this is one of these things that I don't think people have grasped how revolutionary this is, because everything we have here is based on what I would call a feudal system, you know, where there is one person that owns really quite a lot. And William's come in and really turning that on its head and saying, actually, I don't think one person should be able to own and earn this much money, and I want to make sure that, you know, that wealth is more widely spread. And I think I said on the programme the other day, I think this is the first time we've seen of, you know, quite how revolutionary his kingship is going to be in the future. I think it's fascinating.
True, but steady on. I mean, that money he's not giving away. I mean, the money that he will get from selling Duchy of Cornwall land, he's planning to invest in other parts of the estate.
He is, but I think to start to, one of the covenants of it is that, you know, he can't sell it for profit. But I think the fact that he's saying, you know, that would ordinarily, the wealth from that would have come back to me, and it's not. It's going to be all invested back into the people. I mean, it might. There might be a few issues over it, because and that means some of the tenants, you know, will have to potentially either buy their leases from him or sell them. So I think, you know, there's going to be, it's not going to always be smooth sailing, but I do think it's quite a revolutionary way of doing things.
Be very interesting to watch. Another one for that, our Royal Finances show. Just a very quick question to you now, Richard. Leslie Dulwich asked, could Charles III have to abdicate if Andrew is found guilty of any of the crimes he may be charged with? Now, of course, we should say he hasn't been charged with anything at this point. There's just investigations going on. Richard, what's your thought?
Yes, I mean, Andrew was arrested but hasn't been charged yet. And so obviously that's speculating about something in the future. But if there were to be a court case and Andrew were to plead not guilty, it could be extremely awkward, because then he could say, if he's charged with, for example, misconduct in public office, which is something he's being investigated about, he might say that my brother the king knew what I was doing. There was no misconduct because everyone was aware of it. That would drag the monarch into the court case and would be extremely awkward. So yeah, I'm sure the police and prosecutors are very aware of all these things. Could that lead to him abdicating? Who knows? But it's definitely dangerous, choppy waters ahead.
Stick with Palace Confidential. We'll cover this all in more detail. And indeed, we have an update on the Andrew saga coming up later, so stick for that. Let's get back to... oh, gosh, I almost forgot, Richard. Sockwatch. How could I forget Sockwatch before we wrap up the comments section? Tell it, I see some rather fascinating ferns poking from the top of the... just over that table. Tell us what you're wearing and who sent them in.
Yeah, these were sent in by Sir Hugh Maguire from Auckland, New Zealand. Lovely socks they are too, with kiwis on them, a national symbol of New Zealand. So, yeah, thank you to Sir Hugh.
Oh, they're absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much, Sir Hugh, who also wrote in when we were talking about royal family trees, I think. I think he traced a second cousinship to His Majesty the King, somewhere along the lines. We've had New Zealand, we've had America now. I think there might be some more to come next week, aren't there? I think we're looking forward to some more as well.
I'm glad you're branching out into the Commonwealth as well.
Exactly. Well, you know, he's guided slightly by who sends in what. Yeah. So, you know, I'm sure we're very grateful for everyone sending in these socks. But, like I said, we must get back to the panel. Just quickly, Rebecca, we've had two photos. It's a topic that keeps coming up on this programme, of younger members of the royal family celebrating birthdays but not showing their faces.
Yes, so we've had the third birthday of Ernest, which is Princess Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank's son. They call him Ernie. And very sweet pictures, but again, slightly coy, not entirely showing his face. But then they don't do public duties, although I think as we discussed on the programme this other week, I either think you either show it or you don't. And Lily, Princess Lilibet, Harry and Meghan's daughter, who has turned 5 today actually, and they've done set up another couple of photographs on Instagram, but strange, they look like professionally taken photographs to me, and yet again one's of the back of her head and one's kind of showing a side profile with a nose with a hair over her face. It just seems extraordinary to me to get a professional photographer to not take a picture of someone, but what
yes, and for people who are keen, understandably, to keep the privacy of their children secure.
Yeah.
Why bother? I've asked it before again, but why post a picture at all?
Yeah, I mean, happy birthday to Ernie and Lily. But I just can't stand this way of sort of having... to me, it doesn't matter if it's, Eugenie and Jack or if it's Harry and Meghan, but this route of having these pictures of the back of their heads or, the back of them, it's just strange. I mean, either have photos of the children or not at all. I mean, this new picture of Lily today, you see her in profile, we've seen lots of pictures of her hair before, but you can pretty much work out what she looks like from her profile. So to me, it all seems to be just increasing interest in her and more sort of public there, ready for when they have pictures of her, presumably when she turns 18. But it's a strange strategy which, as we've discussed before, seems to coincide with this sort of commercialisation where Meghan's often selling products and sometimes inspired, as she says, by her children. So it's all rather tacky.
And go against what they've said previously about how they want to do things.
Well, it very much goes against, the theme of Harry's memoirs, which was all about how he felt that he was pushed into the spotlight reluctantly and sort of didn't want to be there. And it does seem a bit like that with Lily, but...
And speaking of going against what you said in the past, Rebecca, a quote by Meghan made 10 years ago about candles has come to public attention again. If you'll excuse the pun, it's now being seen in a different light.
Yeah, this has sparked quite a lot of online commentary. A clip emerged of her talking about the selling of products, and that she said that she found the idea of selling candles for over $100 as obnoxious, and that you would never see her selling anything like that. Some people pointed out that her candles that she sells through her As Ever range are not on the cheaper end of the scale. In fact, the full pack of 4 that they're currently selling are close to $260. Now, obviously, when you break it down individually, I think it's closer to $60. But the point was made that, maybe some of her public pronouncements are coming back to haunt her.
What did you make of that, Richard?
Well, I think Meghan at the time, so she was promoting her blog, The Tig, which she was really keen on. And so she was making the point that The Tig was all about things she's passionate about, whether that's travel or food and drink. And it wasn't there just to sell you, overpriced candles. That's the point she was trying to make. But now she is trying to sell us overpriced candles as well as overpriced jam and flour sprinkles. So it's awkward, and it's not the first time that she's been caught out, I'd say. I remember seeing one clip of, she does tend to be quite sort of garrulous at these events. She was with her co-stars from Suits, and she was talking about how she had to lie and pretend she was a member of an actors' union. And she was sort of joking about it, but sort of with hindsight, she probably wouldn't have been so honest.
Be careful what you say, I think, is the message there, but it seems that someone who wasn't particularly careful about what they said was rewarded with a care package by Meghan this week.
Yeah, this is outrageous. This is someone who, pretty much a troll. It was someone who was making really unpleasant, negative comments about Prince William and Catherine. Then they said something nice about Meghan online, and so she sent them a lovely package with all sort of her goodies. And you would have thought that she did some research and established who this person is, because they've got quite a well-known social media account. But she's clearly happy to be associated with this sort of trolling, which doesn't sit well at all with her campaign, to be kind online. Remember she flew to Europe recently to make the point. She was having a go at the social media companies for what they were doing and not protecting children enough. So it does seem like strange double standards to me.
All very strange. I want to come back to you, Richard, for a second. The financial disparity of the couple was under scrutiny from a fairly prominent journalist, this entertainment journalist, I should say, this week.
Yeah, these were really interesting comments by Rob Shooter, who's a prominent show business journalist. I think he's well connected, and he was saying that Meghan believes that Harry needs to step up, that she's been left as the one who is making the money, with her lifestyle brand and everything, and Harry needs to contribute more. Now, look, I have no idea if that's true or not. I haven't put that to Harry and Meghan's people. But it's interesting because we've seen before how they have this strategy of Meghan concentrating on making money, and then Harry was doing the philanthropic and charity engagements. But remember that Harry before was also having to make money. He signed deals with, there was that company Better Up and others. So
not to mention his book deals.
Yeah, which brought in a lot of money. So you can understand a bit of imbalance there, and maybe we'll see some more commercial deals from Harry. Watch this space.
Their lifestyle is very expensive, and they need to keep that going, I suppose. Let's move on to the big Andrew story now this week, though, as court documents have suggested that Buckingham Palace was handed emails 6 years ago that would have shown that Andrew was sharing confidential government information while acting as a trade envoy for the UK. Rebecca, what can you tell us about this?
Well, it's not just emails, it's the volume of emails. So the BBC reported at the weekend that 6 years ago, Buckingham Palace were handed 30,000 emails, which they say proved that he was sharing confidential information with a variety of people, but obviously most notably Jeffrey Epstein, while he was working as a special UK trade envoy. Apparently they were handed to the Lord Chamberlain, who's one of the most senior people within the royal household, and seemingly nothing was done about it. And I think there are questions that Buckingham Palace at the moment won't answer, because they say there's live ongoing police investigations into this issue, these allegations of misconduct in public office. But I think once that process has concluded, there will be serious questions to answer. And
there'll be a lot of pressure for them to respond, presumably.
Absolutely, yeah.
That wasn't the only dossier that was handed to the police. The Mail on Sunday also handed the police a hefty dossier, didn't they? 147
pages, yeah. My colleagues on the Mail on Sunday, who I have to say, kudos to them, have really led the way on this whole story. Over a number of years, they've been really plugging away, and I think sometimes don't get enough plaudits for doing so. People are often, critical of the media, saying we've kind of been quite supine on the issue, and I would beg to differ, particularly when it comes to the Mail on Sunday. They've handed a dossier over to Thames Valley Police, who are currently looking through it as well. Again, Buckingham Palace won't say anything, but there may be questions to answer at some point in the future over that as well.
Richard, if and when we get some more clarity over the Andrew story and the claims made against him, which he of course still denies, do you think we might see some changes over how things are done at the palace when it comes to figures like him?
Well, I think it's going to be tricky for the palace. I mean, if there's no prosecution in the end of Andrew, then it becomes a sort of palace issue as to what have they done about it. And I think there would be calls for for things to happen. Basically, I think they won't be happy. There'll be really a sort of sense of unhappiness if nothing happens with Andrew as a result of all this. Because we've all seen the emails, we've seen what was going on, and so it would be unsettling for the monarchy in general.
I wouldn't be surprised if there are calls for some sort of public inquiry into it.
We do love a public inquiry in the UK,
yeah.
Don't we?
Or an inquiry at the request of Parliament, as we're seeing with the Public Accounts Committee at the moment over residential issues. I wouldn't be surprised if there are demands for a public inquiry, and I don't think the palace would have a leg to stand on in saying, no, we won't take part in that.
And the previous approach by the palace of a slightly more secretive, closed doors approach, it's harder to justify.
Exactly.
Let's have some happier news now. There's some lovely pictures of the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, Edward and Sophie, as they visited Portugal. Richard, what was the occasion?
Yes, Edward and Sophie, Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, have been in Portugal, 3-day visit, and they're celebrating the 640th anniversary of the Treaty of Windsor. Now, Portugal is our oldest ally, and they've been there to celebrate it, carrying out all sorts of engagements, visiting schools and connected with the Duke of Edinburgh's award and all different things. But it seems to have been another trip by the couple which has gone down really well and enjoyed in Portugal.
Any Portuguese viewers, do let us know in the comments. We love to hear from our international palace family. Rebecca, some say that Sophie's garden party dress was quite daring for a royal.
I suppose it was quite daring for a royal. It was by, I think, the company called it Metalier, and it had this kind of quite low cowl back, so it appeared backless. But I thought she looked, can I say bloody on this show? Bloody fantastic.
You absolutely can.
I thought she looks, for a woman in her 60s now, I think she looked fantastic. And she had, she's really worked on her physique and her style. I think good for her. And actually, I wore a backless dress to cover the state dinner at the White House. So I say, go Sophie. If you've got it, flaunt it.
Well, look, also quite daring for the royals are public displays of affection of any kind. We did have a little one for Catherine to William, as you could say, this week. Richard, I mentioned it earlier in the programme. Tell us what happened.
Well, William wasn't there, but it was the Cancer Research UK event we mentioned. And Catherine was there with the pop singer Ronan Keating and his wife Storm, and Ronan had said, pass our best wishes to William, and Storm had said, oh yes, we love William, and then Catherine had said, yes, and so do I. to be fair, she could hardly sort of just not say anything, because she was going to say something nice. But yeah, we don't often hear members of the royal family talking about how much they love their other halves. You'll remember, obviously, King Charles in his engagement interview with Diana, with the whatever that means, when he was asked whether he was in love. So it can be an awkward subject, but Catherine came out of it.
And actually, she was really sweet and giggly when she said it. So I think, again, they don't feel like they need to make public pronouncements of love or be particularly showy in public. That's just not the way they are. No. So I think for her, that was very sweet.
Yeah,
absolutely. Now, of course, we're hoping, as we said before, William and Catherine will be among those celebrating the love of Peter Phillips and Harriet Spurling this weekend. Public displays of affection are surely permitted at a royal wedding. Now, that's one place you can kiss your spouse in public and no one can complain. The occasion has inspired this week's royal montage. And so here are some great pictures of royal brides and grooms over the years. Oh, there's some fantastic ones there. Now, a reminder, you can come and see us live next week. Tickets available to you all now. Click that link below. We'd love to see you. Up next is the highlight show from the live event we did in New York. So click here to watch that. Just time to say thanks to the brilliant Rebecca English and the brilliant Richard Eden, and to you, our brilliant viewers, for watching. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.